Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune, square, opposition, or inconjunct one's natal Neptune. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Neptune, they could be about dreams, fantasies, inspiration, self-sacrifice, ideals, and even unrealism. Now, when transit Neptune is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Neptune, I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, of course, squares and oppositions are adverse aspects in astrology. Inconjuncts are neutral, but neutral aspects can have good and bad in them, good and bad qualities in them. And an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition. And those things, of course, that can cause some tension and exasperation. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. Now, again, when transit Neptune is basically making an adverse aspect to the natal Neptune, it can be about dreams, fantasies, inspiration, self-sacrifice, ideals, things that are unrealistic, might even conflict with perhaps your sleep. Maybe the things that you're fantasizing about, are they dominating you so much that it might even be prohibiting sleeping? It could be maybe you dealt with some deception or duplicity that is causing some problems in your rest, your relaxation, even sleeping, or even your dreams. You might feel at this time where matters with self-sacrificing for others may be conflicting with your dreams at this point, which you really, the things that you're really strongly are desiring to do. And the thing about this too is you might lack the inspiration at this time if you're trying to gradually dissolve something at this time, whether it's a relationship. Say if you got the natal Neptune in the 7th house, or even in Libra, it might be difficult to dissolve, something at this point. You might not have that inspiration, even if you're trying to do so. If it's if you have Neptune in Libra and or the 7th house, it could be that you want maybe to gradually, disconnect from somebody. It might be. Could be a relationship, a significant other, might even be an important friendship in some cases, but those things might be harder to dissolve and dissipate at this time because you just might not really have the inspiration to do it. Lethargy, tiredness, general weakness may conflict with this at this time. Again, Neptune is connected with lethargy, and there might be some issue, lack of inspiration due to that at this time, trying to do things and just in general because of tiredness, because of weakness, because of fatigue at this point. Your energy might feel, if it's dissolved or feels like it's dissipating a little bit, it might be harder to be inspired to do things at this time. And also too, people that are Neptune related people, it could be people that might have been imprisoned or incarcerated, or spiritual people in the metaphysical, which can include astrology. These people may come across at this time as somewhat nebulous, vague, or unclear. You might have difficulty deciphering their intentions at this time, their motives at this point in time. And Neptune again can be about deception and duplicity. So it might be, maybe it's harder to be inspired to do things. Maybe it has something to do, with being deceived, or in previous matters, whether it might be doing things of a monetary nature, getting involved, in some business, maybe with somebody, or it could be a relationship. Again, it might be something where those things might be somewhat prohibiting you at this time, maybe to have that inspiration to actually do them at this time. And you may be at a time too where, Neptune is about self-sacrificing energy, altruism. These things, oddly enough, I would think could actually cause some issues, anatomically connected with Neptune, like with the feet and the toes. If you're on your, if you're doing something, it's an act of altruism, self-sacrificing energy, and you happen to be on your feet a lot, and you're doing it's physical labor for somebody, maybe for example debilitating a friend or family member. It can be greater propensity to have some impact on the feet, on the toes at this time, maybe cause injury or at least cause some kind of, even if it's just mild pain with that at this time. Neptune is also connected with the lymphatic and immune system. So it might be a time where, you have to, this is a time to be, careful, because, Neptune is connected, with weaknesses. It can be, and then, lymphatic. Neptune is also connected again with the immune system. Neptune is also associated with diseases. And if there's any disease you get, I would imagine that, those things, disease could possibly impact, your immune system at this time, or maybe a weakened immune system might cause more susceptibility to getting some kind of disease at this time. And of course you won't look that up and confirm that on the internet, but I believe those things are at least theoretically possible. Now, the thing is, this is something too where, when you have this transit, keep in mind that Neptune is also connected with body fat. So if you're at a point where you're, somewhat lethargic or lackadaisical and you're not really moving around much, you're more stagnant and sleeping more, there might be a greater proclivity toward gaining weight at this time. Also, too, Neptune is connected with imprisonment and isolation. So it might be harder to escape those habits at this time, because Neptune is connected with escaping, and it's also connected with imprisonment, with confinement, with isolation. Maybe it's harder to escape those things at this time. Or, if there's anybody out there that sees this video, remote chance, if you're strongly involved in drugs and or alcohol, it could be that those things, might be exacerbating, some need to really isolate at this time and just getting away in general. And the thing is, and maybe being deceived or dealing with somebody duplicitous or deceptive might be, causing more of a need toward escapism, or maybe exacerbating that at this point in time, if you already are somebody that is, an escapist on some level. So anyway, now another way this transit may manifest, it could be where one may be sacrificing, and it might conflict with the pursuit of one's dreams. Now, say for example, if the natal Neptune is in Sagittarius, those dreams might be connected with sports, exploration, adventure, the outdoors, something with advertising. It could be doing something with importing or exporting, as some examples, publishing. Another way this transit may be expressed, if you're dealing with any chaos, well, this chaos may challenge things that maybe you're trying to do in seclusion and in isolation, in private at this time. Say if the natal Neptune is in Scorpio, as an example, it could be doing, something maybe with embalming or the occult, which includes astrology. Maybe you're doing some building and coding from your home. This is a time, at the time of this video, a lot of us are in greater isolation due to I guess you could say, resurgence of this COVID, the variant or what have you. And anyway, this could also be a time where lethargy at this time may adversely affect just doing something that could be Neptune related in general. Let's say for example, if the Neptune, natal Neptune is in Aquarius, it could be doing something, for the less fortunate, which is Neptune, but could be flavored with altruism and selflessness, which of course can be associated with Aquarius. But Neptune, in general, can be connected, with, it could be doing some with poetry or dancing or photography, the metaphysical, which includes astrology, doing something with illusion, like performing magic tricks. So those are some examples. Anyway, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, also too, another way this transit may manifest. Now, if there's any issues like with feet, the toes, the lymphatic or immune system, if you had these issues, especially before this transit, this could cause more difficulty, with sleeping or relaxing at this time. Could also be where it may be harder to isolate if you're trying to escape reality at this time. And it could be a time where you might be dealing with more confusing or confounding issues, and that could be Neptune with boating at this time. If you are somebody that has a boat, there might be some problems, like with the wiring as some example that that you don't quite understand at this time. Or and it's something. And also Neptune is connected with the unseen, and you may not it may be harder to gauge or actually see those problems, visibly, that might be wrong with it if you are involved in boating. If you do that, and see if that might have some connection with that. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.